bring in Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor. He's former Director General Flight Safety and Inspections. Sir, you've carried out as DG Flight Safety and Inspections, I'm certain, several crash investigations, probes and sat on reports in your appreciation and finalized reports in your appreciation. Has something like this happened before, and your take initially on this report?
Hey, Gaurav, I have covered it with you a number of times before, and now with the prelim report, I'm covering the enhanced story of this. Never ever immediately at unstick does a pilot give a mayday call. Somebody has missed out in this report.
Okay.
The relevance of a mayday call when the pilot gives at immediately at unstick means something grave has happened. So there is no doubt in anybody's mind that both the engines have failed because the rat is deployed, because of the other. Now, why the engines have failed has never come out in this preliminary report. They have all said that the fuel shut-off cock has been moved, all this thing has moved. But just before this movement, what was the status in the flight recorder of the engine? That has not come out. One. Number two, your 2018 report. After that, in 2019 January, a Nippon Airways aircraft in Japan, 787, on landing, had both engine failures. Fortunately for that airplane, when the pilots operated thrust reversals, both the engines cut out in the same way as has happened. And this aircraft is totally computerized, electrically driven, software driven. So the over-reliance on technology, because now let's presume the pilot is taking off on the ill-fated day, he's looking ahead, is manually taking off. Why on this earth would he turn 170 degrees behind to operate a switch manually, for which no sane pilot in this world would do this action intentionally to shut down the engine when he's taking off? In every aircraft which has more than one crew, every action is challenge and response.
Yes.
When a pilot does a critical action, he says it on RT.
He says
the other pilot acknowledges it. I'm shutting off this lever, and the other pilot says, okay. And then he does, and both acknowledge, and that's recorded in the CVR.
Yes.
So it's absolutely bizarre, in my opinion, to say that the pilot just operated the switch. Yes.
Without telling the other one, and the other one saying it didn't happen. Sir, give me a moment. Let me bring in Atul Singh also into this conversation. Sir, your assessment of this report that has come out and that conversation between the pilot and the co-pilot asking the other, why have you shut it? And the other one saying, no, I haven't.
Gaurav, first of all, one thing we must consider at the beginning, that this is a preliminary report.
Yes.
One thing at least clear, that out of all those narratives which we have been put across, that unwarranted retraction of flaps in the initial days of the conversation, putting somehow the blame upon the pilots. Yes, the narratives were running as if the pilot is the culprit. No. In this report too, one thing sounds very contradictory to me, that without investigating the complete scenario, whether the FedEx system or that time the engine control system, civil control system, there is only one line of conclusion, that civil switch off was cut off. But why it was cut off? Another crew, upon confirmation, upon cockpit recall process, during the cockpit recall process, he says, no, he didn't. Then it is pretty clear that it was not done manually. There was no unwarranted manual intervention during that critical phase of time. Then the question arises, then why it happened? There might be some case of serious technical malfunctioning, which I have been saying since day one, that the crash investigators, NTSB, FA, and all the concerned stakeholders should focus in close cooperation with Boeing Corporation, the manufacturer, to find out what was that technical problem, instead of giving rounds to all these kind of unbelievable theories. Focus upon the technological status.
Air Marshal Kapoor, let me bring you in on this FAA report, because when you look at one, Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin, AAIB, and the recommendations and the aircraft models. When it says, if the locking feature is disengaged, the switch can be moved between the two positions without lifting the switch during transition, and the switch would be exposed to the potential of inadvertent operation. Inadvertent operation of the switch could result in an unintended consequences, such as an in-flight engine shutdown. The list of aircraft, airplane model and the switch, it has the 787-8, 9 and 10 also listed. What would you make of this report, sir?
These advisory special bulletins keep coming, and it is for the regulating authority and the maintenance team of this particular airlines. Being a commercial, ventures, all of them, they do not wish to keep the aircraft on ground for too long. These modifications, these checks. So they generally combine it when the aircraft is going in for routine servicing, when the aircraft is going for overhauls, when it is going for repairs. At that stage, the club, this is the normal technical practice for all these modifications. But certain bulletins are binding by the operators that the airlines and the maintenance team have to action. There is no doubt on that. But certain things are advisory. This is a gray area. This is a gray area in the sense that, you say, okay, we have got the advisory, but we will implement as and when the aircraft goes in for servicing or overall or at that stage. The switch, as per this FA, is, I think, so similar on all the Boeing variants. It is indicating 737, 747s, and the other variants, and also all the variants of 787 also. So the other colleague panelist who is on board now is raised a very pertinent point as to say that how do we know that engine failed because of the operation of the switch? Was it a malfunction or was it done at? To every pilot, to every air crew on takeoff leg, it is suicidal. It is suicidal to
Absolutely
shut down the engines. No sane person, and even if somebody does, he cannot do without discussing with the other pilot and the other pilot. Next point, not related to this thing, is globally, all flights more than 8 hours, the 3 pilots go in every cockpit. 3 pilots go. So this is a 10-hour flight. Ideally, Air India too had 3 pilots. I don't know why they reduced it. I'm not saying the third pilot in any way would have helped, but the third set of eyes in the cockpit would have certainly contributed if any such thing is happening, by telling the pilots who are looking ahead at this stage. This is another input I have on this.